I want them to see that.
One more question.
Good evening and welcome to the first ever New Parent Orientation virtual at Cretin-Derham Hall in St. Paul, Minnesota. So welcome. We want to thank you all for joining us virtually. I know that during the time that we're on, many people will join us, and we welcome people as they come. This evening, we're going to have a number of items for your information, hopefully to make your inclusion in our community and your child's start to the school year as smooth as possible under very extraordinary circumstances. My name is Frank Miley. I'm the president here, and in a short time after we pray, I will be introducing the team that will be presenting tonight and making a few comments before they come and give the information that they deem necessary for you to start the school year. At Cretin-Derham Hall, many of you know that we are sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet and the Christian Brothers, and we use invocations that come out of their traditions at the beginning of our prayer and at the end of our prayer. If you are new to the community, these may seem a little new, obviously, and for those of you who know them, you can say them along at home. Our school prayer is attributed to St. Francis, called the Peace Prayer. And we say this every day to start the day as a student body and community, and we say it probably several times in the classroom, depending upon which teachers use to start their class with that particular prayer. So let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God, and let us love God and the dear neighbor without distinction. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we're born to eternal life. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us. Saint John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us. Blessed Brother James Miller, pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever. Again, welcome to this virtual edition of the New Parent Orientation. This is the first time any of us have ever done it this way, so please bear with us. I would like to introduce who will be presenting tonight. They will not be on camera and will reintroduce themselves when they arrive in the frame. But we have Mona Passman, our principal, who is present. We have Amy Bellis, our assistant principal, who will be presenting. We have our Dean of Students, Jerry Klein, who is also with us. We also have Phil Archer, our athletics director. And finally, and last but not least, tonight presenting, we will have Mr. Tony Tleseman, our admissions director, which I'm sure most of you have had the opportunity to meet and converse with. Obviously, we start this school year in a very different way than we've ever started school. For many of your students, this will be the first time back to a school for academic purposes since the middle of March. And that is exciting. We are hopeful that as many students that are possible to attend will be attending, and we welcome them with open arms. We will take every precaution that we can to make sure that they are safe here at Cretin-Derham Hall and follow the guidelines that have been outlined by the Minnesota Department of Health and the CDC. On a little bit of normalcy, I'd like to make comments at the very beginning of the year to new parents about what it's like to see their child transition from elementary school to high school. And I call my little talk, struggle is the seed of growth. And if there's no struggle, there's no growth. Many of you are first-time parents of a high school student. We all were there one time, and for me it was a long time ago, but 7 times I had a 9th grader, and I have a little bit of information or a little bit of experience to share based on being the parent of 7 children. You are beginning the process of stepping away from your child and allowing them to stand on their own. This will prepare them for college and life that comes beyond. 4 years is a lot of practice time. So for those of you who are nervous about that, no, it comes gradually. And those of you who do it well, produce young women and men ready for college and life beyond. I'm going to ask you to do a number of things while you allow them to struggle. And I will ask you to allow them to do some struggling. Not all of their experience here is going to be a struggle. Don't get me wrong. But at times they will struggle, and they will need us to allow them to move through that gracefully so that they have an optimal learning experience and become whole young men and women. Allowing them to struggle will help them build character. It fosters adult interaction. It allows them to learn that behavior has consequences. It gives them a sense of accomplishment, their own accomplishment. Please do not rob them of this sense of accomplishment. High school is a safe place to make mistakes. At least at Cretin-Derham Hall, we try to make it that way. With caring adults around to guide them, both their parents, their teachers, and the staff here at CDH, we hope that that process is smooth and guides them to make good decisions even when they do make mistakes. This process will and can be difficult, but is an important part of the maturation process. A few do's and don'ts from a parent. Do support your child, but don't fight their battles for them, especially with their teachers and their coaches. Guide them to success, but allow them to fail. Some of life's greatest lessons come from failures, not successes. Do keep a watchful eye on them and provide them with structure. Teenagers yearn for structure. On the other hand, don't hover over them like a helicopter parent. Allow them space to grow. Do set high expectations, but don't clear the path of all of their obstacles. Obstacles will allow them to develop skills they need to survive. Do love them enough to say no. And don't always be their friend, be their parent. I offer these thoughts because the goal 4 years from now is to send them off to college, very often out of state or a few hours away if it's in Minnesota. And they want to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and we obviously want that for them too. This is a 4-year process, a process readying them for the rest of their life. We hope that this time here at Cretin-Derham Hall provides them with a true sense of accomplishment and gives them the skills that we want to help them to have as productive adults. So finally, struggle is the seed of growth. I know you chose CDH because you want your child to grow intellectually, morally, physically, emotionally, and socially. Parenting is a very tough job. And parenting teenagers, in my opinion, is the most difficult stage of development. I wish you luck, and I will keep you and your children in my daily prayers. Thank you very much, and welcome to the CDH community. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the podium our principal, Mona Passman.
We have to be careful that we're social distance. Welcome. My name is Mona Passman. I am the principal at Cretin-Derham Hall. I'm going to put my usual remarks that I make at this particular orientation aside, just to spend a few moments talking about what you can expect academically at Cretin-Derham Hall for your sons and daughters as they come in these doors starting next Friday. The community at Cretin-Derham Hall has not changed. Who we are has not changed. Our mission and values have not changed. The care we have for our students, your sons and daughters, and our commitment to them, that hasn't changed. The only thing that's really changed is how we are expressing our mission and values and how we are going about doing things underneath the pandemic. I assure you, we are ready for school to start. We've got most of the major pieces worked out. If I were to say we had every little detail and every little logistic ready, that would be a lot. Anyone who comes and tells you that everything is going to be just the same in any institution or any school is either lying to you or is delusional. But I can tell you that we have a phenomenal and outstanding staff here, that when we find out that we've missed something, what I will probably call uh-oh moments, they will be able to pick it up and adjust, and we will get right back on track. I also want to let you know that we have very few new staff members this school year. I find that very assuring. We have veteran people in our building who know this place, who know your sons and daughters, who know this community, and who are going to be in front of them, taking care of them every day. I want to assure you that health and safety are number one for us as we start back to school. We have a COVID coordinator. Her name is Katie Carroll. You might also know her as our registrar. She is outstanding. She does a nice job with detail, and she is on top of everything. We have a number of protocols in place, and we are checking those daily. We are also checking the changes and updates daily. And next week, you can expect another communication from us with all the latest updates. Just a couple of things we want to make sure you do at home when your sons and daughters leave their house. Please make sure that you keep them at home if they aren't feeling well or they're exhibiting any of the symptoms. We rely on you to do that, to keep our school community safe and healthy, and to keep our school open. Just a couple comments about how we are going to start out the school year learning. We have selected a hybrid model, as you have probably seen in our communications home. Our hybrid model is laid out in two different phases. Our first phase is setting up the learning environment and establishing relationships among students and teachers. As you will probably know from this past spring, that is what is fundamental to a student's education. Those relationships and the learning environment that the teachers have set up. And so what we're going to do is have students in the building every other day. They will meet in their classes, every single class, 1 through 7, so that they have an opportunity to see each one of their teachers every other day. And this was something that the teachers were adamant about. They wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to get to know your sons and daughters as quickly as they could. And that's why we switched from a block schedule to this 7-hour day schedule again, so that your sons and daughters would have an opportunity to get to know their teachers, the learning environment, and get a good routine set up for school. On the off days when the students are not in school, they will have some independent learning assignments. Those will be meaningful and relevant. They will also have opportunities to meet online with their counselors to make sure that things are going well for them. The second phase of our hybrid model is our synchronous learning model. That's when we are going to switch to our block schedule. By that time, at the end of September is what we're hoping, our swivels, which is the technology that's going to allow us to do synchronous learning, will have arrived. They are on back order. And we will be able to switch to blocks, which will mean when the students are at home, they will be able to key into the classroom along with the students who are in that room. An example of how that might work is you will have classroom students, half the students in the classroom with the teacher. The teacher would start out the lesson, would take attendance, have prayer, have the students who are online with the could establish the objective for the day and go through any important learning material that they would need to cover. At that point, a teacher could decide to have the students break into 2 different learning groups. The students at home may be doing something different to learn that objective and to do the day's lesson than the students who are in the classroom. And then at the end of the hour, they could all come back together and have an assessment to see where they're at and what they have learned. There is a 3rd group, and that's a number of our parents, about 45, have selected all distance learning for those students. I am really proud and happy to announce that Pat Lucis, one of our learning coordinators, will be the coordinator for our distance learning model so that the students who are at home can be ensured that there is someone looking out for their best academic interests. And she will serve as the go-to person for teachers, counselors, and students, again, to establish a good learning environment at home. And then lastly, I need to let you know that it's likely we may be switching between those models throughout the year. And we are ready to do that. We are prepared to move forward and switch between those models as we have to. We will follow health and safety guidelines, and if we need to switch to distance learning, we will switch to distance learning. And fortunately, by the model that we've set up, our teachers will know your students at home and will be able to establish that learning environment online as well. So I'd like to welcome you to Cretin-Derham Hall. I want to thank you for trusting us, for remaining with us during this pandemic. And I'd also like to give a little shout out, go Raiders. At this time, I want to introduce the 9th grade and senior dean of students, Mr. Jerry Klein. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Welcome. I'm excited for another school year, and I can't wait to have all these students come back on campus. Well, I know it will be different. Exciting times are ahead for us. A couple of the topics I'm going to talk about today, one, are the school hours. Number 1, our building hours are going to be from 7:30 until 4 p.m. School starts at 8:15, and the day ends at 2:45. When students come, we ask that you go directly to your class, to your first hour class. If you arrive to school before 8 o'clock, we would ask that you go to the auxiliary gym Mondo area, where we'll have desks set up social distance for you to stay there until school starts. So again, if you arrive, one of those folks who are going to arrive earlier and you know that, you will report to the Mondo auxiliary gym. Folks who are coming after 8 o'clock, we ask that you go directly to your first hour class. Also, after school from 2:45 until 4, we have 2 options for students to go to. That will be the Library Learning Center, the LLC, or the auxiliary gym. Both places will have desks designed and socially distanced for you to do your work. But at 4 o'clock, the school will be shut down, and folks will need to leave the building so that we can clean and disinfect the school and do those things that we need to do to get ready for the next day. Also, for drop-off and pickup, students will be dropped off either in the Lynch Family Forum area, our new beautiful space, or also, and that's on the Elvis side of school, and then also the Hamlin turnaround on Hamlin side are 2 places that we would ask that families drop off their students. If students who either drive, bike, or walk, if you would use the other entrances to our building, we have many entrances to the building that you can use to get access to us. If you need a bus card, Lori Malm is in charge of that. She's in the main office. M. Malm, M-A-L-M, at CDH.org. We'll issue those to students who live in District 625 or who live more than a mile outside of CDH. So just be a reminder of that. Also, this year with the social distancing guidelines, no lockers will be issued. So again, unless there's a special circumstance, like somebody's injured or something like that, if you do need a locker, make arrangements with the dean's office. Ruth Johnson, R. Johnson, at c-dh.org. Ruth will be able to help take care of you there. if you have those needs. And then my last topic tonight, we'll just kind of discuss a little bit about lunch. And obviously with different times here, we've got to get very creative how we're going to do lunch this year. So one of the things that we're going to do is offer 4 spaces. We're going to offer the baseball field outside as an option for kids, the lunchroom, which will have brand new, nice style desk available. Also the commons will have desk available, social distance. Then also the Lynch Family Farm is a space where we'll be able to use for our lunchroom. So again, with kind of all the rules that we need to apply by, there will be no breakfast or no snack available the start of the year. And then also all the Taher lunch meals will be served in a closed container for safety. And then our lunchtime will be from 11:40, lunch A, to 12:25. And then lunch B will be 12:25 to 1:10. And then for those who don't know, everyone has their own individual lunch account. It's on Infinite Campus. You're able to use that deposit of money with either cash or check. And then you can register. And also outside the main hallway by the lunchroom, Miss Winker has a box that you can drop checks in if you want to pay that way as well on campus. Other than that, it's my pleasure to announce Miss Amy Bellis, our assistant principal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. It's wonderful to be with you all today, even if it is over a computer. We're very excited to have people back in the building and students back in the building. Like Jerry said, my name is Amy Bellis. I'm the assistant principal and the 10th grade dean of students. I also just want to mention that not with us tonight is Aaron Benner, who is the 11th grade dean of students. He is on paternity leave, so he's not with us tonight, but you will be meeting him as well. Much of what I'm going to talk about, what Jerry talked about, is information that you can find if you need more of it in our student handbook. That handbook is online. It is on the website. It was just updated and uploaded, and so you should please feel free to reference that for any questions that you might have, or give one of us an email or a call. Like Jerry mentioned, our school day is 8:15 to 2:45. I want to talk a little bit about attendance to start with. Students must arrive by 11 o'clock to participate in any co-curriculars. That's going to be not as big a deal now as it might be later on in the year. But please know that students who are at home on their off day of student learning are welcome to come in and participate in any athletics and activities that are happening after school. So even if you're distance learning for that day, you are welcome to come in and participate. In general, if a parent or a guardian is aware of an absence, please make sure that you call our attendance line or email our attendance office and let them know the nature of that absence. The number to the attendance office is 651-696-3311, and the email is attendance@c-dh.org. You'll notice that all of the emails here, for the most part, other than attendance, will be the first initial and last name @c-dh.org. If you could call, if students have appointments, if you could call before 9 o'clock so we can get that on our Infinite Campus, we would really appreciate that. If not, if no one calls or emails, you will receive a phone call home and a follow-up to make sure that you know where your student is and that we know where your student is. Please know that we really want to try to keep students at or below 5 absences in a trimester. Obviously, students learn best when they are here with us in school. And so we know there are extenuating circumstances, certainly with the situation we're in, but we want them here as much as they can possibly be here. If not, we will certainly have interventions if they're appropriate and if those absences are not illness related. If you have a planned absence of more than 1 day, for some reason you're going on a trip or you have a family situation, we have something called a travel permit. Please encourage your student to stop by the attendance office or the main office and pick up a travel permit. That allows us to have it signed by the teachers, so the teachers know that the students will be gone. It also allows an administrator to sign it so we can keep track of attendance as well. And it asks for the parent or guardian to sign it so that we know that it is indeed an okayed absence by them. Students should arrive to school on time. Like Jerry said, that if they get here at 8 o'clock or later, we ask them to go directly to their first period class. If they are late, they will receive a tardy. And when a student reaches 3 or more tardies, they will receive a 30-minute detention. Those detentions then accumulate on every tardy after that for the entire trimester. So again, you kind of get 2 free ones, and then on the third one, the student will get detention. We ask that we know that weather will get bad. We know that driving will become more of an issue, or transportation may become an issue. So we ask that students please not waste those first 2 in case they're needed later on. If a student for some reason is unexcused to a class and either skips or for some reason does not attend a class, just please know that will be also detention time. And after 3 unexcused absences, a student may lose credit for that class. Most of you don't need to know this now, but I just want to mention it because it will come up later in your experience here at CDH. Please know that CDH does not allow any senior skip day, and so we ask that you keep that in the back of your mind for down the road. Just a word about uniforms really quickly, and this is probably high on many of your question lists here. Our boys will wear gray Docker style pants during the early months. I believe it's August, September, and October. They may wear also gray shorts. And then again in the spring, they can wear gray shorts as well. The young women will wear either black Docker style pants or our uniform skirt, or uniform jumper. All students will wear a CDH monogrammed shirt underneath or on top. Those come in many different styles. We have white Oxford shirts, button-down shirts. We also have white and black polo shirts available. And we also have a number of different fleeces, sweaters, and sweatshirts to wear over that all have the CDH monogram on them. All those things can be purchased at Donald's. In terms of shoes, students should wear all black shoes. They can be either athletic shoes or dress shoes. They should be all black. That includes the rim around the bottom, and it includes any markings, for instance, like a Nike swoosh that might be on the shoe. All of that should be black. Students should wear gray, white, or black socks. Again, our boys should not have any piercings. They should be clean shaven. And our hair policy is that it should be cut above the eyebrow, above the ear, and above the collar. All students will wear an ID card with their picture on it, lanyard. And the young women, again, just a reminder that they should not have any facial piercings, any piercings besides ears. We ask you, please, that students not wear boots or Uggs or Crocs, and no open-toed shoes at all, or sandals, nothing like moccasins or any kind of shoes like that. Closed-toed Birkenstocks black Birkenstocks are very popular with our young women. Those are okay. They do have the cork bottom, by the way, that is not black on those. On out of uniform days, we ask that our students dress appropriately, that we stay away from any inappropriate sayings or designs on any t-shirts. No hats or head coverings are allowed on those days. And we do have students wear their ID cards on those days as well for safety. If your student has already taken a summer school class, they already received their iPad. The rest of the iPads will be distributed at 9th grade orientation. We ask that your students make sure that they bring their iPads fully charged every day, along with a set of earbuds or headphones that they can use in case they need to do so in class. Those earbuds and headphones are not to be used in the hallways or other areas, but they may be used with a teacher's permission during class. The Infinite Campus login information for parents and guardians should have been sent via email last week. If you did not receive that, you can reach out to our technology director, Carol Lofek. Just a last little bit, I want to talk briefly about a climate of respect here at Cretin-Derham Hall. As many of you probably know, we are very committed to our mission and our 7 values. Harassment of any type is not acceptable at Cretin-Derham Hall. Not based on race or gender or sexual orientation or religion. We take it very seriously, and that includes both physical, psychological violence, sexual or verbal abuse, anything that is written or is on social media or considered cyberbullying. And unfortunately, this is something we're seeing a lot more recently, and we would ask, please, as parents, that you monitor your children's social media networks and help them learn how to make good decisions around those things, because it really can follow them, and it's a sad thing when somebody makes a mistake and they realize that down the road a college or a scholarship opportunity is lost because of that mistake that they made back when they were a 14, 15, or 16-year-old. Words matter, and the way we treat one another matters here at Cretin-Derham Hall. And I want to make sure that that is a message tonight that comes across loud and clear. Thank you for your time. It is my honor at this time to introduce Mr. Phil Archer, who is our athletic director.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Can't tell you how excited I am to have kids back in the building and get the school year started in whatever capacity it is. So I will say that we were very blessed to be able to hold some summer athletic programming here at CDH, and with the preparedness plans and things that our admin team put in place, our summer was a huge success. So thank you to the admin team. Thank you to all the parents of kids that participated, and that was a broad range from high school students, incoming freshmen, to even middle school kids. So that was awesome. I will say, undoubtedly, there are a ton of questions that we can't answer right now on the high school athletic side of things, with relying on the Minnesota State High School League, and there are a handful of questions that I can't answer. So tonight I've put together a couple of bullet points that I will run through just to give you an idea of where we are athletically, what's being offered, and some of the protocols that we'll utilize for this first fall trimester, excuse me. So updates from the MSHSL. Right now, they have decided to move football and volleyball to the spring and are allowing girls tennis, boys and girls soccer, girls swim and dive, and cross country, boys and girls, to compete this fall. With that being said, registration for those has been open, and they will continue to be open until the week after the first competitions. And we encourage you, especially as incoming ninth graders, to participate in the fall sport of some sort. As far as football and volleyball, those have been allowed a practice season. That practice season will start September 14th and go through October 3rd for football and volleyball. And kids will be required to register on the cdhraiders.org site. Also offered in the fall is spring sports, and there's an odd spring sport practice season that is being allowed by the MSHSL due to the cancellation of the 2019-2020 spring season. That will also require registration, and all coaches will be in contact with all players and parents on what that process, what those dates and those practice times will look like. Also, kids, or student athletes, I should say, are able to participate in more than one sport here at CDH. And if they're involved in a club sport, they're okay to compete at their club and at the high school. Registration, I said, is still open. The dates for the practice-only seasons, that's for football and volleyball, and for the spring sports, those dates for that will come out next week, I believe, and you will get an email from the athletic office detailing that. One of the reasons that we had such success this summer with our summer programming, and I do mean it was a great opportunity for kids. We had 350 to 500 kids here a day, and no major incidents. So one of the reasons that we were able to do that, and do that without huge interruption, was our COVID check-in process. On the cdhraiders.org site, there is a daily COVID check-in form, and since we had such success with that this summer, we're going to continue with that for the fall season as well. It might be altered or changed as we move into different seasons with different data and points from how we've operated at a school as CDH. But for right now, we're going to continue with that daily form for each kid as they check in. Coaches are aware of this process. They'll communicate this process to all the student athletes. And fortunately, many of our student athletes were here on campus during the summer and are familiar with this form that is about 40 seconds to complete and submit, and it allows us to track and trace where every kid is, who has contact with who, and if there's ever an issue, we know what parents to contact right away. As Ms. Bellis noted in her talk about the hybrid schedule, student athletes that are at home on a hybrid day are welcome to come and practice for their regular scheduled practice at that time. So the only ask that we have is that during that time, students get dropped off roughly 10 to 15 minutes before practice time starts, so they can get in and get on the field as quickly as possible with no lingering around the building. That brings me to the locker room situation, right? Right now, locker rooms are currently, they will be allowed, but they're going to be highly limited and highly regulated by the coaches. So I've met with all the coaches. We've all talked about a process in which we get kids in a few minutes before practice to get any clothing put away, change clothes, get out to the field in a marked route, and then after practice, get back into the locker room, get their belongings, change clothes if needed, and get home so they can get clean and take care of home duties. Each sports coach will be monitoring this and watching it. The big thing we ask parents to encourage and reinforce is that they continue to encourage kids not to congregate. The locker room is not a social area. Kids will be in there to store their equipment or store their school belongings while they're at practice, and that is it. Coaches are going to be very strict with that this year. And as far as sanitation, we've worked out a plan with our buildings and grounds crew that will be sanitizing the locker room multiple times throughout the week with a big clean on Saturday over the weekend. Two final things. Spectators during spring events. Right now, part of the reason that the volleyball season was moved to the spring was because currently there'd be no indoor spectators allowed. Right now, what we are going to do for our outdoor sports is going to be the bleacher on the south field, will be marked off with socially distanced X's, where we are asking only elderly and handicapped people use for our girls soccer events, or any family that comes to, for a practice or something, which we do not encourage, but that space is there if there's an elderly person. The streaming that we have set up at CDH should allow every parent, grandparent, and our student from CDH to be able to watch most sporting events. Information with the streaming will come out next week with the information on the practice season registration, along with a handful of other notes that parents and student athletes should know for the fall season. As always, my office is always open for a call or an email. Myself or our assistant athletic director, Bob Kinney, do a pretty good job of getting back to people in a timely fashion. I will say that email is going to be the quickest way to get in contact with us and get an answer, with phone calls coming in a close second. So again, welcome to CDH. We're excited to have you. We're excited to have sports this fall. And all I ask is to be a little flexible with us as we are waiting for guidance on several different things from the State High School League, and those things will be communicated to you as soon as possible. With that, I'm going to bring up Tony Tleseman, our Director of Admissions, to wrap up the night. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. Again, my name is Tony Tleseman. I'm in the admissions office at CDH, and I just have a few things to wrap up the evening before we get to the question and answer to finish the new parent orientation. You should have received a packet in the mail that highlights some of this information that we discussed tonight. Included in that packet is a few good question and answers in general that we covered tonight, but also for you to review. Also is a Tahoe lunch form that will show you how you can specifically add money to your account. I know we talked about ways to deposit money in your student's account. Another way is if they have cash on hand, they can actually give that to the cashier, but they will just deposit it in his or her account. They will not give any cash back. So just a note on that. There's also a form on driver's ed. I know that's not something we want to think about right now, but driver's ed is around the corner, and we do offer driver's ed here on campus after school. So some information is included in that packet. The main topic I'd like to discuss is the new student orientation. And for 9th grade students and transfer students, The 9th grade orientation is on Friday, August 28th. We will send a more detailed letter with an agenda that describes the day for your child this weekend. So you should receive information very soon. I'm sure they're eager to know what that day looks like. And I can assure you we are excited to have them on campus. So a little bit more about that day. 9th graders, they will start at 8 a.m. They will be welcomed on our Wingard turf field to begin the morning at 8 a.m. And we will welcome them as a class and have a few activities and announcements, introductions, and then we will transition to the rest of the orientation day. And what that day will look like is the day will be split. All students will be on campus the entire day, but half of the students for the morning session will go through a walkthrough of their courses, and then we will have a lunch provided, so lunch is provided for your student. And then following lunch in the afternoon session, the second half of the 9th grade students will go through a walkthrough of their schedule and complete the day. Lunch, again, is provided. Your child does not need to be in their CDH uniform that day. We do have out-of-uniform guidelines that will be included in your new student orientation mailer this weekend. But just to reiterate, they do not need to be in CDH uniform on orientation day. If your child has not received their iPad, most or all the students in the 9th grade, if they have received their iPad, it was because they took a summer course on campus. So if your child did not take any summer courses, we will provide their iPad on orientation day on that Friday. We will also provide a CDH mask for them to wear. We do ask your child maybe to have their own mask on hand, but we will, and we plan to provide their CDH mask on orientation day. The 9th graders will conclude their day pretty close to the school hours, right around 2:30, 2:45. Our Raider Rack, which is our school apparel store, will be open from 2:30 to 4 p.m. So if they want to purchase any Raider attire, we will have that available. Another thing to note for orientation day, they do not need to bring anything with them. They don't need to bring a backpack. We don't want any water bottles. Just don't have them bring anything with them. We will provide their schedule. So I know schedules were mailed out. They do not need to bring their copy with them. We will provide their schedule for them on Friday the 28th. All of this information will be in the mailer that we will send home soon. And then also your child will most likely receive a phone call or a text message from CDH students that will be inviting them and reminding and encouraging them about how much fun they will have on Friday, August 28th. Transfer students. We have a significant amount of new transfer students, upper class 10th through 12th graders this year, which we're very excited about. Transfer parents, you will receive a separate mailer at home, which will describe what your child's orientation will look like. It will be separate from the 9th graders, and their day will begin around 8:30 and conclude most likely around noon or 1 p.m. So transfer students have roughly a half day of orientation. 9th graders can plan to be here from 8 to around 3 o'clock. All of this information, again, will be on hand to you at home soon. A couple other reminders, basic reminders, is that our website is our best resource. So please feel comfortable checking our school website at your leisure in learning how to navigate around that main page and find the resources that you're looking for. I'm sure there will be plenty of updates this year, so maybe make it a habit to check that website. You can always contact our admissions office if you have general questions. And then any of the questions that we cannot answer tonight during our question and answer session, you can email me or email anybody in our admissions office, and we will get those answers to you as fast as possible. I will remind you, if you need to revisit this new parent orientation, this will be recorded. So if you know anybody that was not able to join us this evening, this will be recorded and added on our main school webpage as we, after that, will conclude tonight's new parent orientation. With that, I'd like to lead into the next phase, which will conclude our evening. We will try as a group answer as many questions as we can. There may be some questions that we may have to follow up with you, and we definitely will not be able to get to all of the questions tonight. So we will take on a couple common questions that we have gathered over the course of this evening and try and help you out. So I'll take the first question, and then whoever can answer the best will go. So
the question is, will there be co-curriculars offered, such as math team, speech team?
The question is will there be co-curriculars offered, such as math team or chess club, book club? And the answer is yes. We intend to highlight which clubs we will have, and that really doesn't happen until the students come on campus. We, on a typical year, offer anywhere between 25 and 30 extracurricular clubs, and we kind of ask the students what their interests are every year. So some clubs may change from year to year, and I anticipate that later in September, your child will be introduced to all the different clubs we have, and we will have a process to get information to them.
Will there be all school masks and social distancing?
Does anyone want to handle that? Frank Miley, our president, will talk.
At this point, we have our campus ministry department planning appropriate prayer services and mass that will be safe for all of our students. We have not determined at this point whether we will be able to have an all-school mass, but we will be able to have smaller masses, obviously with fewer people. And so we are working on that right now, and we will be true to our mission and our faith and be prayerful, but we will do it in the best possible way that keeps all of our students safe. We'll be getting you more information on that as time moves along. Thank you.
So are the students permitted to bring a lunch from home?
The question was, are students permitted to bring their own lunch from home? And the answer is yes. We have an option for them to purchase items through Taher, but students are allowed to bring their own bag lunch, and then also in addition purchase items that are available to them every day.
And in the winter with no lockers assigned yet, where can the students store their boots?
I think the question was where can students store some of their winter attire? I think we're going to have to see when that day comes. But right now there are the students who are involved in any sports or PE classes will have a locker in the boys or girls locker room. But to start the year, we will kind of take those as they come. I don't know if we're ready to answer that entirely, but we will do everything we can to support students with the items that they bring or have to bring with them.
These are for Phil.
Okay. What's the question?
So the first question is, how is transportation being done for sports events? And are the students required to take the bus, or can they drive to the event?
Okay, so I'll have Phil Archer, our athletic director, answer the question. But the question was typically students are provided transportation to sporting events if they're off campus. And so the question is will that be provided? And do students have to take that bus with their team? Phil?
Thanks, Tom. That's actually a combination answer for this question. We are working on providing transportation for our team events, and one of the other things to go along with that is a transportation waiver that is normally not done, and it is not completed at this point in time, but a transportation waiver that would allow parents to transport their kids to sporting events. If you've noticed that the majority of the fall sports that were allowed are more individual sports, if you look at the cross country and the tennis and the swim and dive. So there's a lot of opportunities there for parents to just drive the kids to the venue where the events are being held. As far as our team stuff, Buses are going to be offered, and we'll need to wear a mask while on the bus, and there's going to be a reduced number. So one of the things that the bus companies have been very cautious about is protecting the drivers. So we will abide by whatever guidelines they give us, and it sounds like it's about half capacity of what it normally would be for our current school situation. So those will be offered.
Bill, will the football players have access to the weight room during the winter?
The question was, will the football players have access to the weight room during the winter? Currently, right now, we're working with our strength coach, Jerry Mackin, to come up with a plan that will allow that to happen. So the answer in short is yes, but the plans for that have not been finalized. As right now in our fall season, it's just going to be teams allowed in there that will work out under the supervision of strength coaches and their sport-specific coaches. So,
who should I contact if I have questions or concerns about my student?
I'll let Ms. Bellis answer that question.
So the question was, who should I contact if I have questions or concerns about my student? I want you to know that we have some of the best counselors around. They will be able to answer some of your questions about your students. There is a list of them on the website, along with phone numbers and email addresses. In addition, we have a dean of student for each of the grade levels. And so I mentioned before, I'm responsible for the 10th graders. Mr. Klein is responsible for the 9th and 12th graders, and Mr. Benner for the 11th graders. So between their school counselor and one of the deans is probably a good starting point if you have general questions about any of your students.
And Ms. Willis, how many kids will be in each classroom?
The question was how many students will be in each classroom. That will vary a little bit, but I would say in general, around 14 or so students per classroom. We have worked really hard to find classrooms that are suitable for the number of students that will be here. And we've moved some classes to larger classrooms and larger spaces to accommodate the larger numbers. And so please know that safety is our number one priority, and we will work hard to make sure that there is distance available and that all the students are safe in whatever classroom they're in.
So what does the passing time look like?
Question was, what does the passing time look like? We are going to allow about 10 minutes for classrooms to be sanitized between classes and then for students to be on their way to their next class. We are going to allow students, while the weather is nice, to pass between classes outdoors if they want to. We will have a one-way system between buildings, and we will, to some degree, have some staggered dismissals from classes as students get done cleaning and move on to their next space to try to hopefully avoid the larger crowds in the hallways.
And will students need a health check every day before arriving to school?
The question was, will students need a health check before they arrive to school? Students, when like Ms. Passman mentioned, we do ask that parents please do an initial screening at home. If your student has a fever or any of the symptoms, we ask you to keep them home that day. If those subside, obviously, quickly, they can come back the following day. But we will have students fill out a questionnaire when they get to their first period classes that will ask them if they have experienced any of the symptoms or been around anyone who has tested positive or who has had symptoms. So yes, they will do a questionnaire that they will fill out each day. We didn't mention today masks, but students will be required to wear masks throughout the day in school, except for during periods when they might be alone in a space or are eating lunch, obviously. But we will ask students to have masks. We will provide one, like Tony said, on the first day of school. And they may have, I'm assuming most of you have several of your own probably at this point, but we do ask that they're kind of the 2-layered cloth masks. We will not allow any bandanas or gaiters, and we do ask that those are worn anytime you're in the school building or are not able to social distance outside.
Somebody wants us to repeat the information for spectators during the fall sports.
Okay, so the question is, can we repeat the information about spectators for fall sports? I'll turn it over to Phil Archer, our athletic director.
So sorry if I buzzed through that pretty quick earlier. So spectators for fall sports. The only team sport that we'll have on the south field that will have spectators allowed is our boys and girls soccer programs. During those, we've got a smaller set of bleachers that face the field there, and we will have those marked with socially distanced X's so that handicap or elderly can sit in those places. And we just ask that if someone is an able-bodied person, that if they're going to observe in some sort of socially distanced fashion from around the field. Unlike a lot of the suburban East schools, we don't play soccer in a football stadium that has the big bowl for people to sit in, and so we want to be respectful of our elderly and our handicapped spectators that want to come and see a son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson play a sport. As far as indoor stuff, there's going to be no spectators. Again, that's why I brought up the moving of volleyball, because for fall sports there'll be no indoor spectators allowed. It'll be competition only.
Can a parent make the choice later on to change their child to distance learning?
So the question was, can a parent change their mind later to distant learning? And I'm going to ask our principal, Mona Passman, to answer.
Yes, parents may decide to keep their students home for distance learning at any point in time. We want to make sure that you're feeling that your students are safe and healthy here. And if there's some extenuating circumstances at home and you need to change, absolutely. What we do ask is, once you have determined that your student will be doing distance learning, that you continue that till the end of that period. So right now, we are going to have distance learning up until the middle of October, and then we will ask again for people to renew their interest in distance learning. So while people can move into distance learning, we ask that they remain in distance learning once they're there until we have the mid-tri and trimester breaks.
Thank you, Mona. I'd like to. We're gonna stop with the question and answers at this time, but we will and are prepared to answer more questions that may come in this evening. And then if you think of any questions after tonight's evening, please call us. Please email us. We want to make sure you guys are fully equipped with starting the new school year. Again, your child will receive detailed information about new student orientation, which is next Friday, August 28th. And so if they have a lot of questions on their own, hopefully we will answer that in our mailer. And then we are also available all of next week to prepare for your students on campus. So thanks again for your patience. This is definitely not our ideal way to welcome you to our community. We normally have a very nice evening for you on campus together as a community, and we still are one community, but we want to thank you for logging in tonight, and we look forward to having you on campus and hopefully enjoying this experience with us for 4 years. So have a good night. Hopefully see you soon on campus. Thank you.